Welcome. This is Everyday Paradoxes Tiny Truths About Becoming, a 16-part audio series based on my book. These are reflections on the quiet contradictions that shape our growth. I'm Leslie DeMello. In each episode, we'll sit with one small truth from ordinary life, where psychology meets contemplation and insight becomes practice. Let's begin. Chapter 1. To fall asleep, you must first pretend to be asleep. And this essentially talks about us changing most when we stop trying to change. Whether you're here out of curiosity, calm, or quiet exhaustion, today's session is titled In Order to Fall Asleep, You Must First Pretend to Be Asleep. The session is definitely not about sleep, but it does begin with that metaphor. And it's more about talking about becoming. And although it sounds very childlike, but hidden in this one line is one of the most, I would say, profound psychological truths that I know of. And the truth is that we don't wait until we feel ready to begin something. We begin, and that's what makes us ready. We'll start with a story, a moment from my life that taught me what it means to move from pretending into being. Then we will unpack the psychology behind it, how the body can lead the mind, and how our behavior can create emotion, and more importantly, why acting as if is not inauthentic but deeply intelligent. Then we will move into a short meditation, not to fix anything, but to remember what peace feels like so that your body can learn to find it again. As you listen, as you participate in today's event, I want to invite you to set aside the idea of trying because there's no right way to do this. Just breathe, listen, and let that shift happen. So, starting with the story, the night the body remembered. And a few years ago, I had one of those nights where we have those nights where rest seems impossible. My body was exhausted, but my mind was wide awake. It was just sprinting from thought to thought and trying to outrun itself. I tried breathing exercises, I tried meditation, I tried reasoning with myself. I even tried deliberately just keeping my eyes open till they would get tired, but nothing worked. And then I remembered something that I used to do as a child: pretend to be asleep, and it will help you drift off. Pretend to be asleep, and it will help you drift off. And that's exactly what I did. I lay still, I slowed my breath, I softened my hands. I didn't feel calm, but I acted calm. And in that moment, something changed. My heartbeat slowed, my breath deepened, my body decided to believe me. Pretending wasn't faking, it was remembering. I wasn't tricking myself, I was guiding myself to a state that I already knew. And that night, I learned one of life's quietest paradoxes. Sometimes, to become, you must behave as though you already are. And that's what we'll explore tonight. How pretending becomes becoming. How the body can lead the mind into truth. And how this small shift, it changes everything that we know about growth and peace. So I invite you to just for a moment, just take a breath in, take a breath. Let it go. Take another one and let it go. And try to think of a time when you pretended to be something. Think of a time when you pretended to be something. Preferably something calm, something confident, something loving. Think of that time. The time where you pretended to be something and in a way it quietly became true. And try to recollect what was happening in your body during that moment. Simply try to recollect what was happening to your body during that moment. And I remember when I first joined Toastmasters to get a bit better at public speaking, and I had to give that first speech. And my mentor at that time told me, whatever you're doing, just try to smile. And I was nervous, I was afraid, I was having this whole festival of emotions that was going on. But I kind of pretended, I forced myself to smile, I acted. Even though I was scared, I smiled. By the end of the speech that I was giving, that smile actually automatically became genuine. Another good example, when you speak gently to your child before you feel that patience, because sometimes we have these situations with our relations, whether it's our spouse, whether it's our children, whether it's our parent, and we have those moments where we are feeling impatient. But when we just take a moment and speak gently, trying to act patient, most of the time the patience will find us mid sentence. The patience will automatically come to us. So, what's the psychology behind this paradox? In psychology, we have this theory called embodied cognition. And the idea is that the mind doesn't live just in your head, because for some reason we are under the impression that the mind is somewhere around here. But the mind doesn't just live in your head. The mind lives in your whole body. The mind is in every breath, every gesture, every posture. All this sends messages to your brain about how you feel. Whenever we are doing meditations, or even if we are doing yoga, we are doing pranayama, we we tend to breathe deeply. Because doing this, when we breathe deeply, our nervous system interprets that as safety. When our shoulders are tense, when our shoulders are not relaxed, the body interprets it as a threat. When we come into these sessions, when we pretend to be calm, when we go into a meditation, we pretend to be calm, we soften our jaw, we slow our breath. In those times, the body is not lying. We are not lying to the body. What we are doing is we are leading the body. We are showing our nervous system what peace feels like. So, right now, at this moment, if I can ask you to place one hand on your chest, just one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. Place one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and take a slow breath as though you already trust life. A slow breath as though you already trust life. Take another slow breath as though you already trust life. So, what do you notice in your body? What did you notice in your body when you did that? And mentally, ma'am, in your mind, what did you feel? Anything else you notice, like a sense of calm, a sense of relaxation? So most of the time, the feedback I would get is they felt, and of course, that's when we do it for a little bit extended duration. The experience is that the shoulders tend to drop, the breath starts to move a little bit deeper, and we tend to feel that sense of grounding, that sense of returning. So it's kind of like we did a physical exercise with the body, and that translated to an emotion that we felt calm, centered. A physical exercise in the body translated to an emotion that we felt. And we call this, in psychology, we call this behavioral activation. The idea, or how we use it in our daily life, what it teaches us is that when our mood is low or our motivation is missing, and I'm sure all of us know this experience, when our mood is low, our motivation is missing. Most of the time, we either go deeper into that spiral or we try to distract ourselves. But what behavioral activation tells us is that when your mood is low, when your motivation is missing, we don't wait to feel better. We start moving first. We create some movement. We go for the walk before we want to go for the walk. We create this movement. We reach out to a friend before it feels easy. I always give that famous example of how we are supposed to be hitting the gym, or we are supposed to be going for the walk, or we are supposed to be going for the run, and then we feel lazy. We want to avoid it. The recommendation is that, okay, you're not going for the run or you're not going to the gym, it's fine. Put on your trainers, put on your gym clothes, put on your trainers, and let's see what happens after that. And 99% of the time, just getting into that movement, getting into that flow of starting to take action, it it changes the emotion, it changes the mood. So the paradox here is that we think we need to feel different to act different. But often, acting different is what creates the feeling. We tell ourselves things like, I need to be good at public speaking before I could speak in front of an audience. Or I need to be really good at the piano before I start playing, before I start getting into a proper rhythm. We think we need to feel different to act different, but acting different creates the feeling. Acting different creates the feeling. You sit up straight with your shoulders at the back, and automatically we create this feeling of confidence. So think of one small action that would reflect the state that you long for. Right now, think of one small action that would reflect the state you long for. And your state could be peace, it could be courage, it could be trust, it could be love, it could be confidence. The state that you're longing for, what is one small action that would reflect that state? And whatever state that is, whatever state that you're looking for, what would acting as if look like for you today? What would acting as if look like for you today? As an example, if I wake up in the morning and my head is in a mess, my mind is racing, and I'm looking for calm. So possibly the action that I could take is simply sit and drink my tea slowly instead of doing some mindless scrolling or instead of checking my emails. If someone is looking for connection, so maybe texting that person who you need to text instead of waiting for that feeling to be ready, waiting for that readiness to come. Why does this work? In one word, and I think this word seems to be going around a lot nowadays, and that's neuroplasticity. And the simplest way to explain neuroplasticity is rehearsal becomes reality. The brain is able to change through repetition. Every time you practice calm, every time you practice kindness, every time you practice self trust, your brain lays down a new neural pathway. It starts creating a new way of behaving, a new way of reacting. We call it pretending, we call it acting as if. And this is not necessarily false. What we are doing is we are training the brain. We are rehearsing truth until your brain learns it as a reality. So, neuroplasticity, where rehearsal becomes reality. What is the reality y'all are looking for? What is the emotional state that y'all are looking for? What emotional state do you want your brain to practice more often? We are talking about emotional states, but this applies across the board. Emotional states like feeling at peace, feeling calm, feeling grounded, feeling in love. We can apply it to this. And also the things that we want to do that sometimes we think are out of our reach. For example, I want to become an actor, but we think no, this is out of our reach. Pretending to be an actor and doing the necessary amount of pretensions consistently every day will ultimately make you an actor or the singer or the dancer or the musician. So, the emotional state that you want, how can you offer it tiny repetitions every day? What can you do? What can you pretend to be true in order to achieve clarity? What can you pretend to be true to feel energetic? What can you pretend to do every day consistently to create this feeling of being focused? So essentially, who we want to be, we need to first pretend to be it. So we also have another very fascinating concept in psychology, which is called mirror neurons. The brain that watches itself, the mind that is able to watch itself. In our brain, we have got empathy cells. Whenever we witness someone feeling or acting in a certain way, those empathy cells fire. And I'm sure you'll have had this experience. You're having a perfectly fine day, and then you have maybe a co-worker or a colleague or a family member or someone who you know come to you who's feeling really sad and really down on life, and by the time you're done with the conversation with them, you're feeling the same way, even you feel pulled down. Or for that matter, when you're in the presence of someone who is peaceful and who is calm and who is radiating joy, automatically we tend to feel that peace, we tend to feel that calm. Because in our brain, we have got empathy cells. And these activate whenever we witness someone feeling or acting in a certain way. And they also respond when we imagine ourselves in that state, in whichever state we want to imagine ourselves in. So when we visualize ourselves peaceful, when we visualize ourselves grounded, our brain mirrors that experience. We become both the actor and the audience of our own becoming. We become the actor and the audience of our own becoming. So right now we are going to have the experience of mirror neurons. So we can experience for ourselves whether there's any truth in it or not. So a small exercise. For just one moment, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Of course, if you're driving, please don't do that. Otherwise, if you're in a safe place, it's safe to do so. Close your eyes. And imagine walking through tomorrow with quiet confidence. You're walking through tomorrow with quiet confidence. Just imagine the day as you're walking through it, and you're walking through it with confidence. Try to notice what shifts in your posture, in your face, in your breath, the way you're walking. And you can open your eyes. And feel free to share anything you experienced. Like maybe you felt your spine lifting, or you felt your jaw relaxing, or your breath slowed down, or maybe you were just smiling, or you felt this glow about you. So, pretending is not performance, but pretending is participation. You're simply inviting your nervous system to remember what truth feels like. And this paradox, to fall asleep, you must first pretend to be asleep. We see examples of this paradox everywhere. We see examples of this paradox everywhere, like a dancer will rehearse their steps even before the music starts. And then the rhythm finds the dancer. A serious writer does not wait for inspiration to strike. They take a pen, they take a paper, and they start writing, and after some time, the words simply appear. Practice forgiveness before feeling ready. practice forgiveness before feeling ready. Healing automatically follows. So, pretending simply becomes the bridge between intention and embodiment. So, beginning before we feel ready. At work, we can speak calmly even when we are anxious. In love, we can show affection before having certainty of love. In healing, we can rest even when we don't feel done. So we'll now go into the meditation. But before going into the meditation, simply ask yourself, what am I waiting to feel before I begin? What would it look like to act as though it's already true? And what if pretending could simply be remembering? So we'll now go into a guided meditation. I invite you to close your eyes if it is safe to do so. And as you close your eyes, let your breath find its rhythm. Don't force it. Don't try to control it. Simply let it find its rhythm. There's nothing to fix, there's nothing to achieve, just the gentle act of being here. Feel the surface beneath you, the surface that's supporting you. Feel the weight of your body. It's supported, it's welcomed. And now think of one quality you long to embody. Think of one quality that you long to embody. Could be peace, could be trust, could be focus, could be clarity, courage, belonging. Think of that one quality that you long to embody. Now imagine it's already here, not as a fantasy, but as a memory. Imagine it's already here. How would your breath move if you already felt safe? How would your breath move if you already felt safe? How would your body rest if you already belonged? How would your body rest if you already belonged? Breathe as though it's true. Sit as though it's safe. Feel as though it's familiar. You're not forcing anything, you're simply remembering. Each breath is a quiet act of pretending, a rehearsal for becoming. Pretending is remembering. Remembering is becoming. Let your body hold this memory. Hold it like sunlight resting on still water. Inhale, I am here. Exhale, I am enough. Inhale, I am here. Exhale, I am enough. Inhale, I am here. Exhale, I am enough. Stay in this stillness for the few breaths. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Slowly, gently. So think about what your body remembered during those breaths. Think about what your body remembered during those breaths. If you like, you can just share one word in the chat of what your body remembered during those breaths. So, in this session, we explored how pretending becomes a doorway to truth. Pretending becomes a doorway to truth. And this is a very important statement. Pretending becomes a doorway to truth. And we seen it today and we also experienced it today. Pretending is not falsehood, it is faith in motion. We are not faking our way forward, we are remembering our way home. So, a small practice for the week ahead. At least once a day, for 1 minute. Once a day, for 1 minute, act as though whatever is that feeling you want, whether it's peace, whether it's love, whether it's care, whether it's clarity, whether it's focus, whatever is that emotion you're looking for, or even if it is a goal, if you want to become an actor or a writer or teacher, or a singer. Once a day, for 1 minute, act as though that already belongs to you. Breathe, walk, speak, or rest like someone who trusts life completely, just for 1 minute once a day. Simply because somewhere inside you, somewhere inside all of us, that version already exists. And it's simply waiting to be remembered. It is simply waiting to be remembered. Thank you for listening. This has been Everyday Paradoxes, Tiny Truths About Becoming. Before you move on, you might sit quietly with these questions. What did I recognize in myself today? Where is this paradox quietly at work in my life? And what is one small shift I'm being invited toward? Becoming rarely announces itself. It unfolds in awareness, in small recognitions, in the gentle courage to see clearly. This series is based on my book Everyday Paradoxes, Tiny Truths About Becoming. It's a reflective guide meant to be read slowly, not for answers, but for insights that deepen with time. You'll find the reflection questions in the description along with details about the book. If this conversation resonated, you're welcome to like, share, or subscribe so these truths can reach others who may need them. Until next time, stay present, stay curious, and keep becoming.